Hello, fellow delinquents and ne'er-do-wells. Once again, it is time for your Crazy Oregon News, brought to you by Sean Sutherland, the guy behind Ask Insurance. You have questions? Well, you need to ask. You got questions about Medicare? You know who to ask. That would be Sean Sutherland. You've got questions about maybe your homeowner's insurance? You need to ask Sean Sutherland of Ask Insurance. I would be Bill London, your humble host, and I, of course, am on the wake-up call Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 9 on KPNW, doing that show, streaming worldwide at kpnw.com. And we're going to take a look at, well, some of the big stories and just follow up on Oregon and all of its insanity. So, we'll start with this. Oh, it's a very special session of the Oregon legislature. So Friday, only 4 Republicans showed up, and even a few Democrats decided not to make the soiree, while Governor Tina Kotek decided to enjoy a vacation instead of lobby and show up for her very own special session and go to any of the committee meetings, including the hearings. So while Republicans pushed back in their own usual flaccid way, they did get a couple of sort of concessions in the governor's $5+ billion tax and fee increase on Oregonians. First, the 100% increase in the payroll tax to help fund mass transit and bus systems, instead of being a forever thing, will now that tax increase sunset in 2 years, which really is a huge nothing because it would take a simple vote to extend it out. It's very simple. The main win, if you really want to call it that, is that the state economist and the Department of Administrative Services will not have the authority to raise the gas tax, which was a part of Governor Kotek's original bill. Now, the amendment that passed the House says that DAS and the state economist will only have the power to lower the gas tax, which, of course, will never happen. Likely that and a few other items that were originally stuffed into the bill were there to simply look like there was some sort of bipartisanship, with the Democrats knowing fully well that a few of the items were actually kind of inconsequential but triggering to Republicans and would be easy to remove, and the Democrats would have cover so they could say, hey, look at us. We negotiated. We were playing nice. So anyway, the bill has now moved from the House to the Senate, where the expectation is Wednesday or Thursday, it's going to get passed and, well, we're all going to pay for it. The Oregon House passed, by the way, that House Bill 3991 by a vote of 36-12, which is the minimum number of yes votes required to approve the suite of tax increases the governor put forward. And Democrats were actually a vote short to pass that bill out of the House. So how did it move out? One Republican stepped into the fray and voted yes, ensuring that the bill made it out of the House and into the Senate. That would be State Representative Cyrus Javadi from Tillamook. He was the Republican that crossed the aisle, voting with Democrats on the package and rescuing the bill from auguring into the site of a political mountain. Now, last Friday, Javadi, in an op-ed published in the Yamhill County News Register, tipped his hand how he was going to vote in writing. He wrote, quote, "In politics, false choices are cheap. Real solutions are expensive. Oregon's roads are asking us to decide whether we want slogans or asphalt. If we choose slogans, we'll keep saying the same cycle. Underfunded maintenance, crumbling infrastructure, emergency patches, ballooning costs. If we choose asphalt, if we choose the hard, honest path of raising revenue, we can actually hand our kids a system that works." After his vote, Javadi said that he had also received a number of phone calls from people calling him and telling him to vote no and threatened not to vote for him in the next election. He told another news outlet, "I think my job's worth the handful of jobs it's going to save in F-Story if it comes to that, or the hundreds more it's going to save across the state." Now, it's kind of hard not to think Javadi, who has voted for a number of Democratic bills in the last regular session, that he might be, well, I don't know, maybe the next Charlie Conrad II, who was primaried in Lane County for some of his votes. Speaking of Javadi, 2 state representatives want Oregonians to vote on an amendment to the state's constitution to ban what they call, and I'm quoting them, secret police. Democrat Tom Anderson and, once again, Republican Cyrus Javadi have announced plans to introduce a bill in the next legislative session to send the question to voters. Under their proposal, law enforcement would be required to wear official uniforms with names and badge numbers, and they could not wear any kind of face coverings. That would be banned. They would have exceptions for SWAT and undercover operations. The lawmakers say that public trust in government erodes when people don't know who's enforcing the law. The question is, why wouldn't they just say that for everybody? If you're going to go to some sort of protest, then you can't be wearing a mask. If you're going to be out there breaking windows, setting fire to things, assaulting police officers, destroying police cars, as we've seen happen many times up in Portland, what about those folks? Why do they get a pass on wearing masks? I mean, one can make the argument part of the reason they're wearing masks is so they don't get doxxed by Antifa and their fellow travelers who have done that in the past and would be the same people that would do it in the future. All right, so one of the big fires that's burning in the state is known as the Flat Fire. Now, it is burning in both Deschutes and Jefferson counties. And the Jefferson County Sheriff is trying to quell rumors that are spreading online about the actual origins of the Flat Fire. By the way, just so you know, it is 52% at this point contained. So in a letter to the community, Sheriff Jason Pollock of Jefferson County says his office is actively assisting state partners investigating how the fire started August 21st. Now, that is burning, by the way, near Sisters, Oregon. And he says that first responding deputies initiating evacuations encountered 2 people confirmed through property records as associated with a private lot where the fire is believed to have started. Now, at this stage in the investigation, Pollock says there is no indication the fire was caused by a homeless or transient encampment, even though the sheriff says those claims have been running rampant online. He cautioned the public against spreading misinformation, and he says that can compromise the investigation. So 34 out of 36 Oregon sheriffs signed a letter, and we told you about this a week or 2 ago, supporting Marion County's lawsuit and request for clarification on whether or not providing documents requested by Immigration and Customs Enforcement would violate Oregon's sanctuary law. Now, the county's lawsuit, and that would be Marion County, was filed on August 18th, and they sued both Oregon state government and the feds. And it stemmed from subpoenas issued by ICE asking for records of 4 undocumented immigrants who were on parole for crimes including rape, child sex abuse, and kidnapping robbery. Now, the county says they collected all the documents requested in the subpoenas, which they continue to say would have been made available to anybody who makes a public records request. But for one thing, Oregon's sanctuary law limits the use of state and local resources for immigration enforcement. That conflicts with the subpoenas issued by ICE. So Marion County said, well, they're suing both the state and the federal government so that we can get a clarification of legal requirements prior to, well, doing something. They say that ambiguity remains. Now, the brief letter sent by the sheriffs late last week said that, quote, "We agree that there is a good deal of legal uncertainty in how the state and federal laws actually apply to local governments and sheriff's offices across the state. And in case you're wondering, it was Multnomah County and Washington County and their two sheriffs who did not sign the letter." Meanwhile, Marion County Counsel Steve Elzinga says uncertainty from conflicting laws is bad for everyone, and Marion County is looking for legal clarity that'll benefit all Oregonians, especially law enforcement officers across our state. This look at your crazy Oregon news brought to you by Sean Sutherland of Ask Insurance. And with that, well, it's time to throw it back Rick's way so he can roll out a little tiny drum of industrial strength reel. Get real, Rick.